The sky split open with an unnatural glow. Clouds burned away, revealing the massive, silver structure descending toward Earth. The world stood still. Cities paused. Satellites scrambled to capture the arrival. News stations flickered between fear and awe. Then, without warning, it stopped, suspended in the sky like a silent god. The streets below overflowed with murmurs, speculation, fear. Then came the voice, layered and commanding, yet undeniably feminine. It didn't boom or threaten, it pleaded. Humanity, I beg you. A lone figure descended, stepping onto solid ground as people instinctively backed away. 7 feet tall, ethereal, silver-skinned with eyes that pulsed like dying stars. A crown of sharp, translucent crystal adorned her head. She fell to her knees, elegant yet desperate. I need a human husband, she said. Silence. Then came chaos. The government's emergency response teams were already surrounding the area. Black vehicles screeched to a halt. Soldiers raised weapons, unsure if they were looking at a threat or something far worse, an interstellar embarrassment. John Carter, standing among the confused, didn't move. The woman's piercing gaze found him, cutting through the masses. You, she whispered. He blinked, startled. Him. Officials intervened, herded her into containment. She allowed it, barely resisting, eyes still locked onto him. John had no idea how, but something told him his life had just been rewritten. Within the hour, Earth's leaders scrambled. Every power-hungry executive and scientist sat at round tables, eager to dissect what had just happened. The woman, Empress HFY of the Velyari, was royalty among a dying species. Their kind, once rulers of the void, were now on the brink of extinction. Their biology was failing. Their genetics were breaking down. And in a twist of cosmic cruelty, their species had only one biological match left. Humans. A quiet, sinking realization set in across the war rooms of Earth. The fate of an empire rested not on diplomacy, not on war, but on something far stranger. Marriage. John Carter, a man who had spent most of his life avoiding long-term commitments, was now apparently the last hope of an interstellar dynasty. He sat in a stark white room, the kind made to make people feel small. Across from him, HFY stood, no longer desperate, but measured, regal. She studied him the way a scientist might study an unfamiliar species. I have chosen you, she said, voice smooth yet laced with something raw. Your records indicate resilience, tactical ingenuity, genetic compatibility. John scoffed. You picked me out of a database. She tilted her head. I picked the best. He leaned forward, elbows on the cold metal table. Lady, I'm flattered, but I don't exactly see a reason why I'd sign up for alien matrimony. HFY's jaw tensed. Because without a union, my species will perish. Our laws dictate that I cannot simply take a mate. He must prove himself. John frowned. Prove. The trial, she said, eyes darkening. A test of strength, intelligence, and endurance. It is how Velyari leaders were once chosen. If you pass, I will have fulfilled my duty. If you fail, she hesitated, then looked away. Then we have no future. John let the words settle. So no pressure. She stood, turning toward the reinforced doors. Prepare yourself, John Carter. You are humanity's first contender. The door hissed open. She left without another word. The ship was colder than he expected. Metal corridors stretched endlessly, glowing with faint blue veins of energy pulsing beneath the surface. John Carter walked forward, flanked by 2 silent guards, their silver armor reflecting his own unease. Ahead, an enormous archway split open, revealing the arena. A vast coliseum, impossibly large, shimmered with alien technology. Thousands of Velyari lined the curved seats, their luminous eyes locked on him. No cheering, no whispers, just cold, silent judgment. At the center stood 3 figures, each from a different species, waiting. HFY's voice echoed through the chamber, controlled but firm. The trial begins. John exhaled, fists clenching. No way out now. The first opponent moved, a towering beast, thick-limbed with obsidian plates running down its back. A predator built for destruction. It charged, the ground trembling beneath its weight. John barely had time to react before a clawed hand swiped at his skull. Ducking fast, he rolled, eyes darting around the arena. No weapons, no armor, just him against a walking tank. He wasn't winning this in a straight fight. The beast lunged again. John didn't retreat. He sidestepped, letting the creature's own momentum carry it forward. A second later, its foot caught the uneven ground. It stumbled. That was all he needed. John sprinted, leaped onto its back, and grabbed hold of the jagged plates. Before the beast could react, he shifted his weight, jerking its balance further off-center. It went crashing down, skull slamming into the ground with a sickening crack. Silence. Then a low, reluctant murmur from the crowd. HFY's gaze never left him. The second opponent stepped forward. Humanoid, slender, but with shifting, kaleidoscopic eyes. A strategist. John didn't need a translator to know what was coming next. This was a battle of minds. A glowing interface materialized between them, a game grid forming in midair. He recognized the layout, chess, but warped into something alien, something deeper. The rules weren't explained, but that didn't matter. John had played strategy games his whole life. His opponent moved first, pieces shifting in ways that shouldn't be possible. Patterns, traps, an entire web unfolding in mere seconds. John smirked. Predictable. He didn't play safe. He played human. Illogical. Chaotic. Moves that didn't make sense until they did. His opponent hesitated. Then hesitated again. 5 minutes later, the board flashed. Victory. A ripple moved through the crowd. Surprise. Interest. The third opponent approached. A silent figure, wrapped in a flowing, heat-resistant cloak. The endurance test. The ground beneath them shifted, and suddenly, they were somewhere else. A wasteland of blistering heat, swirling sand, and air so thin it burned the lungs. No weapons. No time limit. Just survival. John breathed slow, conserving energy. His opponent remained still, unmoving, playing the long game. He understood now. This wasn't about outlasting the environment. It was about breaking the opponent's will. Time stretched. Sweat dripped down his back. His vision blurred. But he didn't move. His opponent finally did. A single step back. A second. Then it collapsed, unable to continue. The arena flickered, reality snapping back. John stood alone in the center, still standing. Barely. The murmurs became something else. Approval. John barely had time to catch his breath before the realization hit him. The trial wasn't just brutal, it was rigged. The murmurs in the crowd weren't just surprise, they were uncertainty. He wasn't supposed to win. The Velyari Council, seated high above in their ornate, floating thrones, remained silent. HFY's expression was unreadable, but something in her eyes had shifted. A voice, deep and mechanical, echoed from above. Final challenge, endurance. John's stomach dropped. What the hell was the last one then? The floor beneath him opened. He fell. Cold. Gravity flipped. Air torn from his lungs as he plunged into darkness. He hit solid ground. Hard, body rolling across the surface. He gasped, inhaling sharp, bitter air. The landscape was endless white. Snow. No. Ice. An entire wasteland of jagged, crystalline frost stretching into infinity. A storm raged in the distance, howling winds cutting through him like knives. His fingers ached instantly. He pushed himself up, scanning the area. No opponent. No timer. Just survival. John exhaled. They want me to break. Every movement sent a new wave of pain through his limbs. He had no idea how long he had to endure. Minutes, hours, days. His body already protested, shivering violently. The Velyari could probably withstand this, but he was human. And yet, that was the whole point, wasn't it? The storm drew closer, snow whipping across his face. His thoughts slowed, exhaustion sinking its claws into him. He had two choices, stand or fall. He stood. Time passed. He didn't know how much. The cold became a distant ache, his mind narrowing to one focus. Asterisk, asterisk, one step forward, asterisk, asterisk. Then the sky above cracked open, the arena returning in a flash of blinding light. He collapsed onto solid ground, panting, trembling, but still breathing. The council whispered. Then HFY spoke. The human passes. But John saw the truth in her expression. This was never meant to be a trial. It was meant to be his execution. Asterisk, asterisk. Silence. John forced himself upright, muscles screaming in protest. The weight of thousands of alien eyes pressed down on him, some filled with shock, others with quiet respect. He should have been dead. The Velyari expected him to break, to collapse, to fail like every other species who had dared step into their sacred trials. But he hadn't. The council remained still, their expressions unreadable. Then a voice, cold and clipped. This was not the expected outcome. John almost laughed. No kidding. He wiped a streak of blood from his lip and turned toward HFY. She hadn't moved, but something was different. He could see it in the way she clenched her fists, in the way her shoulders no longer carried the weight of someone bound by duty alone. She had chosen him before the trials even began. But now, for the first time, it wasn't just obligation. It was conviction. She stepped forward, regal and unshaken. The human has succeeded. He has proven himself in strength, in mind, and in endurance. Her gaze swept across the council. By the laws of our people, I claim him. Murmurs. A ripple of unrest. The council shifted, exchanging unreadable glances. The oldest among them, his skin etched with veins of silver, leaned forward. No, this was a mistake. The human was never meant to win. John exhaled sharply. Of course. HFY's voice turned sharp. You would deny your own traditions. The elder's gaze hardened. Tradition exists to uphold the strength of our people. He turned to John, disdain curling in his tone. A mere human cannot be the foundation of our future. John met his gaze, unflinching. Funny. I survived your trials. Maybe your future isn't as strong as you think. A ripple of something passed through the crowd. A shift. A realization. The council had expected an easy answer, a way to avoid change. But change had already arrived, standing bloodied and unbowed in their sacred arena. HFY turned fully to John now, ignoring the council. Will you stand at my side? John exhaled, glancing toward the towering figures still seated in judgment. He wasn't just answering her. He was answering them. He straightened. On one condition. She tilted her head. No more desperate marriages. No more last chances. He let the words sink in. If humanity stands with the Velyari, it's as equals. No pleading. No bargaining. Just a choice. HFY smiled. Not the formal, rehearsed expression she'd worn before. Something real. Then I choose you. The council said nothing. The crowd didn't cheer. But John could feel it. The shift. The understanding. The war for survival had just turned into something else. And humanity had just become a player in the stars.